While women play various roles in medieval and early modern literature, that of the sovereignty goddess is one of the more unique and empowering. Present in early Irish and Celtic literature, the sovereignty goddess is the woman whose husband is the rightful ruler of the land. It is the union of the sovereignty goddess and the king which ensures the king's sovereign rule. Without her rightful king, the goddess often appears to be a hag who is lost, old, and sometimes deranged. When she is finally united with her sovereign, she typically transforms from an ugly old hag into a beautiful young woman. The sovereignty goddess needs the king to come into her true beautiful form as a goddess, but he needs her equally in order to obtain his rightful sovereignty over the land. The sovereignty goddess and the king are mutually dependent upon each other, and they come together in a harmonious symbiotic relationship. The sovereignty goddess actually serves as a symbol for the land. Just like an old hag, the land is characterized as ugly and decrepit before the new rightful king takes over and transforms it and renews its beauty. Ireland is consistently depicted as a woman in early Irish literature, so therefore the sovereignty goddess, or the goddess of the land, serves as a symbol for all of Ireland. The rightful king has to be one that loves all of the land and has the ability to coexist harmoniously with the land. One of the features of the relationship between the king and the sovereignty goddess is her presentation of a ritual alcoholic beverage to the king. The presentation of this beverage is a symbol of the king's future lordship that connects him to the goddess and to the other world. The most common word for sovereignty in early Irish literature is flaithlius, or flaith, which is closely linked to the word for alcoholic drink, which is laith. The symbolic presentation marks the ceremonious point at which the king and the goddess come together and transform. There are three manifestations of the sovereignty goddess. The first is the old woman who becomes beautiful upon meeting the rightful king. The second is the young woman who loses her mind and regains it upon meeting the king. The third manifestation is the woman who loses her status in society and regains her rightful place when she marries her king. There are various examples of these different manifestations of the sovereignty goddess throughout early Celtic literature. An example of the first manifestation is present in the story of the 5 Lugates. The 5 brothers of the story are out hunting when they are overcome by a snowstorm. They search for shelter from the storm, and each in turn find a hut owned by an old hag. The hag invites them to sleep with her in return for shelter. Each brother refuses her offer except for the last. He follows her into bed, and the transformation instantly takes place. Her face becomes radiant, her gowns become elegant, and her hair becomes smooth and beautiful. She even starts to smell like a garden. After this transformation, she tells him, "I am sovereignty, and the kingship of Erin will be obtained by thee." Here the transformation takes place to beauty, and the rightful kingship is announced immediately after. An example of the second manifestation where the goddess is mad is present in the Aithne Murn de Dubois. The young woman finds her father dead on a battlefield and proceeds to drink his blood and go mad. Her hair, nails, and toenails grow out uncontrollably, and she eats raw meat. She is a danger to anyone who approaches the mountain she inhabits. The king ultimately sends his harpist to pacify her. He attracts her with money, music, and ultimately sex. He bathes her and refines her so that her confidence and sanity are restored. As he restores her beauty and identity, he proves himself to be the rightful king. The third manifestation, where a woman loses her social status, is present in more modern international fairy tales, like Cinderella and Snow White. An example of this in early Celtic literature is in Aithne Foda. She does the work of a servant, her tasks including milking cows and fetching water. Cormac comes across her and falls in love with her, ignorant of her true identity. He asks permission to marry her only to have his request refused. He eventually abducts her and they have a child together. He is named King and the child Prince, restoring the young woman to her rightful place as queen. While the power of a woman's role as sovereignty goddess is often debated, it is clear that she holds a significant place in the stories of early Celtic literature. The sovereignty goddess determines the rightful king of the land, and she serves to ultimately represent the land itself. The sovereignty goddess is a powerful female that embodies both nature and power, representing the land and its sovereign